Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And it has been a minute since we've done a little chit chat here. It's good to see you guys. I have been traveling. I've been gone a lot. I've been in Thailand, spending a lot of time there. I spent a month in Europe. I'm going home for a month in a few weeks. So I've kind of been all over the place. And now that I'm back in Bali, I thought it'd be a great opportunity to make a video talking about how I actually earn a living traveling full time as a photographer and making a living basically doing what I love. For those of you that don't know, I've been living between Bali and Thailand for the last 8 years. They're both beautiful places to live, and I just can't seem to choose one or the other. So I'm kind of hopping around. I go to Europe every year for a month. I go home to visit my family in the US every year for a month, and I do all of that supporting myself purely through my photography. And people often ask me, Sean, how are you doing this? How can you sustain yourself through your photography? And I think it's a great question. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to show you guys my income streams for how I earn a living as a photographer. And I'm also going to give you guys tips for how to implement these income streams as well, so you can build a location independent photography business, a travel photography business, whatever you want to call it. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, before we get started, if you guys want to learn a step-by-step guide on how to build a photography business like this, where you're location independent, go ahead and check out my free workshop. There's a link in the description. It's 1 hour long, and it covers the 5 essential steps that you need to take to build a successful travel photography business. But okay, with that said, let's break down my main income streams. And at the top of that list is, of course, client work. And client work is when you're selling your photography services to a client. You're capturing photos, you're capturing videos for that client to use for advertising purposes, for their website, etc. And when you're first starting out, this is going to be typically freelance work. So you're going to be shooting portraits, weddings, shooting for restaurants or cafes, basically starting at the local level. This is exactly what I did when I first started out. I developed a portrait and cafe/restaurant photography business in northern Thailand. I kind of found a market there. I did a lot of outreach, and I figured out a way to sustain myself through my photography. Now, another type of client work is commercial work. So you're shooting for more higher end brands where the budgets are typically higher. There's usually a team involved, and it's a much more engaged process with very strict deliverables, but those often pay a lot more than typical freelance work as well. And this has kind of been my focus over the last 2-3 years or so, is transitioning away from freelance work and onto commercial work, where I can charge a lot more for those jobs, and I can take a lot less jobs throughout the year and not stress about having to work a photography job every single week or every few days. So now at this point in my career, about 30 to 50% of my income comes from client work. Most recently, I did a job with the Swiss Tourism Board, and that paid really well. And I basically went to Switzerland, created a bunch of content for them for a week. I also did a commercial shoot for Anchor over the past year. I worked with DJI as well. And I score my client work jobs through a few different ways. Number one is, of course, word of mouth. People love to talk. They love to share your name. If you do a good job, that's going to get out into the world. And I also use pitching to great effect as well. I've been pitching ever since I started out my photography business. And what this means is essentially contacting brands via email, contacting brands via DM, coming to them with a specific idea and saying, hey, I think this could be a really cool shoot for your brand. Let's chat about doing something like this. I want to provide value for you, and really expressing the value that I can provide them in that very first outreach message. And one of the beauties of being a travel photographer or living in a cool location like Bali or in Thailand is I can build those destinations into my pitch as well. So for example, I can reach out to a brand and say, hey, I'm living in Bali. I have a really cool creative idea that I want to run by you guys. I think your product would look amazing shooting here on the beach in Bali. So let's jump on a call, let's chat about this, and we can go from there. And that has been amazing for scoring jobs with these bigger end clients, because I can build these destinations into my pitches. And I can do the same when I'm traveling to Europe as well. If I'm traveling to Europe and there's a brand that I think would look really great in this specific destination, I can reach out to that brand and say, hey, I'm traveling to this really cool place, and I think your product would look amazing if we shot it there. So let's jump on a call and chat about this a little bit further. And I do this with local companies as well. For example, if I'm traveling to Europe, I can reach out to car rental brands. I can reach out to hotels in the local area. I can reach out to local businesses in that specific local area. And then when I'm traveling, I can actually score jobs as well. So outreach has been amazing for me in scaling up my photography business, both in the beginning when I was working freelance, when I was working with smaller clients, and now as well when I'm working with bigger clients. And the reason why it's so effective is simple. It's because you're putting your work and your services right in front of somebody, and you're making it difficult for them to say no, because you're offering value straight off the bat. Now, if you're a photographer and you want to learn more about how to score clients, whether that's in your local area or at a global level, let me know in the comments down below, and I will definitely make a video for you guys, but I don't want to spend too much time on that because we have a lot of other stuff to talk about in this video. So with client work out of the way, let's move on to my my second income stream, and this has completely changed my life, and that is digital products. Now, digital products are things like Lightroom presets, LUTs, online courses, guidebooks, travel guides. I mean, the list goes on. There are so many different things that you could sell as a digital product. And what makes these so powerful for us as artists is we're no longer trading our time for money. So with client work, there's a direct trade between time and money. But with digital products, you can create that product up front and that can sell on its own. So it kind of breaks down that relationship between time and money. And that is an amazing thing for us as creatives because that gives us more time to create art that we want to create instead of just creating art for somebody else. Now, digital products have completely revolutionized my business and my lifestyle as well because I have so much more time to do things that I want to do, to create videos for you guys, to shoot what I want to shoot, not feel like I have to focus in on a very specific style that the client is after. And also, most importantly, they gave me the freedom to travel and live wherever I want. When 100% of my income was coming from client work back in the day, I couldn't really leave where I was living. It was hard for me to travel. Yes, I could take time off. Yes, I was scoring some jobs while I was traveling, but generally speaking, I had to stay in that specific place in order to continue making the income that I was making. But with digital products, I have a lot more freedom. I can work anywhere, I can do what I want, and that's the beauty of digital products. And at this point in my career, digital products make up about 40 to 60% of my income depending on the year. And I sold my first digital product back in 2017. It was a preset pack, and I think I sold like $30 worth of preset packs in that first year. Now, since that first preset pack back in 2017, which honestly was not very good, I dedicated a lot of my time to learning about how to create better products and learn about digital marketing as well, which is arguably even more important because you can create the best, dopest product, but if nobody sees it, then it doesn't matter and you're not gonna earn anything from that product. So I dedicated a lot of time to learning more about it. And since then, I have created much better preset packs. I've created technical photography courses, I've created photography guides, and I actually just released my first signature course, which is called Finding Freedom, which has been super well received. It's been awesome creating a community of like-minded photographers, and it's been really rewarding working with all these amazing travel photographers to help build their businesses and basically teaching them everything that I've learned over the last 8 years. Now, getting started selling digital products is not that difficult. The first thing that you need to do is realize that you probably are capable enough to sell a digital product. I think a lot of creatives are scared to sell something because they feel like they're not an expert, they have imposter syndrome, and everyone has imposter syndrome. Everyone deals with this. And something that my friend said back to me in 2017 when I was so hesitant to share my digital product was, if you're better than somebody else, then you're good enough to teach, then you're good enough to sell somebody. You can solve a problem for somebody else. And that really hit home for me, and that gave me the confidence to go ahead and put that digital product forth. So if you're feeling like you have imposter syndrome and you're not an expert, you're not the best of the best, how could you possibly sell something? If you're better than somebody else, then you're capable enough to create a really solid product that somebody can find genuine value in. Another thing that puts people off is setting up an online store. You can set up an online store in under an hour on a platform like Squarespace these days. That's what I did. It's really fun building a website. I had a great time building my first website back in 2017 and earning my first sales as well. There's no better feeling than selling your first digital product and tasting the freedom that can give you. And the last thing that I think prevents a lot of creatives from going out and creating their own product and selling that online is sales shame. A lot of creators are afraid to market for themselves, yet they'll go out and they'll advertise for any big brand for a couple $100. And I think that's disrespectful to yourself as a creator and to your target customer as well. If you spend all that time creating an amazing product that you know is valuable, then you're doing yourself a disservice by not marketing that to your target customer. And you're also doing your target customer a disservice because you're not giving them all of the information that they need to make an informed decision about that specific product. So if you have created a digital product or you're thinking about doing it and you're just a little bit afraid to put yourself out there, come back to this, realize that selling is not bad. You're only helping them make an informed decision, and you're showing yourself and all your hard work respect by marketing your products. Now, my last tip for creating a digital product is to make sure that you are collecting email addresses. And if you aren't doing this at all, maybe you don't even have a plan to sell a digital product right now, go create a website and give the option to sign up for an email list. Having an email list is so much more profitable than having a social media account. You can sell products so much easier through an email list, and it's also just a great way to connect with people as well. I send out free weekly emails to my newsletter giving photography tips, talking about photography, kind of whatever interests me, and it's really fun to sit down and write. Writing is a big part of any creative business, and I think the sooner that you can create an email list, start collecting email addresses, and also start sharing your thoughts with that email list, you're going to massively set yourself up for success when you do do plan to eventually release that first digital product. So digital products have completely revolutionized my business, and they're a big reason why I can live abroad full time. And they're also so much fun to creating something that's genuinely valuable for somebody and sharing that with the world, I find to be extremely valuable and rewarding. Now moving on to my third source of income, and that is affiliate revenue and sponsorships. And affiliate revenue is essentially you're selling a product on behalf of a brand. So Amazon Associates, if somebody clicks a link to a camera that you're selling in a YouTube description, I'm sure you guys have seen plenty of these, you get a kickback if they end up buying that camera. There's also a lot of software companies that do this. I've been an affiliate with Canva, Artlist, MusicBed. There's a bunch of different things that you can become an affiliate for. You market their product and you get a kickback. Now sponsorships are a little bit different. That's when you get paid to market for a specific brand. So for example, Sony will pay you $1,000 to talk about the new camera on your YouTube channel, or maybe to make a post about it on Instagram. And this is what I would consider to be influencer work, right? So you're marketing for a brand, you're providing the service in the form of marketing. Now for me, between affiliate and sponsorships, this is about 5 to 10% of my income every year. It's changing as I'm growing more on social media. I'm getting more opportunities for sponsorships, and those sponsors are paying a lot better as well. So I think as I continue to create content, this number is going to go up, but at the moment it stands between 5 or 10%. Now I think sponsorships and affiliate revenue are great, but I don't think they're as powerful as something like digital products or even as client work, especially when you're starting out in the beginning. And the reason for that is unless you have a really large following on social media, these two sources of income aren't going to be that great for you. And one of the biggest mistakes that I see a lot of young content creators making is branding themselves first as an influencer and providing marketing services to brands. Whereas if they were branding themselves as a content creator, as a photographer, as a videographer, and charging only for the content, you can earn a lot more money doing that instead of just creating content to market on your social media pages. So if you're just starting out, I wouldn't focus on sponsorships and affiliate revenue. I would focus on being a content creator and creating high quality content for brands that they can go ahead and post on their social media accounts, on their websites, or use for advertising purposes, instead of you creating that content to advertise on your Instagram page or on your YouTube account, because it's just not going to be nearly as lucrative for you in the beginning. Now, there are a few other income sources that I've used to make money over the years. The first one is photo licensing. I recently licensed a photo to Adobe for them to share on their app and on their website. That was pretty cool. That paid pretty well. I also used to license some of my travel images to travel magazines, but overall, this hasn't been a major earner for me, and I don't think you should necessarily go out seeking photo licensing opportunities. Instead, they're gonna come to you, and when they do come, it's kind of like a nice bonus, but it's not something that you should be actively searching out for income. Another thing that I have made a little bit of money on over the years is prints, but I don't think prints are a sustainable source of income for us as travel photographers. If you're working in the wedding industry or you're shooting a lot of portraits and you can kind of systemize the print process to upsell your clients on prints after the shoot, I think that could be great. But for the type of jobs that I'm doing, that's not really relevant. And also the print market is quite small. There's not a lot of people decorating their houses looking for photography prints. So it's a much smaller market. And while I have made some money on it, I don't think it's a really effective way to put your time and energy when you're first starting out as a photographer. Now, another income source for me has been a photo book. And actually no one knows that I released a photo book. That's because I did a really quiet release. And it's actually up here. And this is a photo book I made back in 2021. And I just made it for my family and my friends. But it was my first entry into creating an actual photo book. And I honestly just love how it came out. Seeing my images, holding my images in my hand, it's amazing, and I'm really excited to make more photo books in the future. Now, when I did release this, I just released it to my family and my friends at like a really slight markup just to cover my time costs. And so it was only in my immediate personal environment. I didn't make a lot of money out of it, and I don't think creating books is a good earner for photography, but I think it's an amazing way of creative expression, and it's something that I want to dive into more, and I'm planning to create a book to sell in the future as well. But at this point in time, I haven't made a lot from photography books, and I don't think most photographers do. And lastly is stock photography. Everyone loves to talk about stock photography because it's the true passive income of photographers. You go out, you take photos, you post them online, and you earn money while you sleep. But unfortunately, the market is heavily saturated. It's very difficult to make money in stock photography, especially if you're just starting out now. And the ones that are making money have a huge collection of images across a ton of different platforms. And they also go out and shoot very specific things for these stock photography websites. So I've made probably $1,000 over the years as a stock photographer, but it's not something that I think is worth my time or your time either if you're just starting out in this industry. But those are all of my income sources. That's exactly how I sustain myself, living abroad full-time, being able to travel full-time as a photographer. But I want to give you guys some tips for building a hybrid business like this as well, because I think when a lot of people hear this, they think, I need to start doing client work right away. I need to start creating a digital product right away. I got to do all these things right off the bat. And it overwhelms a lot of people and it scares them away. So I've created a very simple pathway for you guys to do this. And I think the first thing that you need to do is focus on scoring clients in your local area. And you can do that by grabbing a camera. It doesn't have to be any expensive camera. It can be a crop sensor camera under $1,000 is fine. Go out and shoot and create as much as you possibly can. Then go home, put together a small portfolio with images that you think would be relevant for a specific target industry. For example, coffee shops or restaurants. That's a really great first target customer. Or even portraits in your local area. You can shoot pre-wedding. There's a lot of different industries that you can focus on early on, but create a small collection of images, put it into a portfolio on Squarespace, and then start outreaching to clients in that specific area. So if you want to shoot with restaurants and cafes, there's a ton of them. Go ahead and contact those businesses, offer your photography services, and that's a great way to build up your portfolio and learn about the client work process, and also just get better at photography as well. When you're working as a photographer, that's when you're going to develop a lot of your skills. So if you feel like you're not good enough yet, just go out and score your first client and learn as you go. That's what this is all about. It's just getting going in the first place. And you're gonna figure it out as you go. And if you guys wanna learn more about my outreach process and how I go about actually contacting brands to work with, once again, I talk about that in my free workshop. There's a link in the description. Go ahead and check that out. And as you're doing this, as you're working with clients, you're learning about the industry, you're improving your photography skills, share that journey on social media as well. If you can do YouTube, that's amazing. YouTube is a gold mine for us as creatives, but Instagram is great as well. And I think sharing your journey is the best way to get started. It's the easiest point of entry, and it's a great way to start growing on social media as well. You don't need to treat your Instagram or your YouTube like a business in the beginning. Just treat it as a creative outlet where you're sharing your work with the world, work that you love, that you created, and then over time that can grow and build into something. But in the beginning, social media is really not a great way to score photography clients, and I wouldn't recommend trying to use it for that, but it is incredibly important for us as photographers to grow that social media account because it can turn into an amazing source of income for us later on. And the last tip, once again, is to start collecting emails as soon as possible. If you don't have a website yet, go set one up and just give the option to sign up to your newsletter list. And if you can, start sharing some thoughts and ideas on that email list every week. It's an amazing way to sell digital products, and it's an amazing way to connect with your customers as well. But essentially, that is how I earn a living as a travel photographer. And I love this job, guys. It's so fun being able to travel, being able to create, and also being able to meet so many cool people, whether they're creatives, models, or just people that I'm working with. This industry is awesome, and it's a really fun community to be a part of. And I hope you guys can join us. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. But if not, don't forget to check out my free workshop. There's a link in the description. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this casual style video. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. And I will talk to you guys again very, very soon.